Hello, my name is Trisha. I am a confidence coach and spoken word poetess. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. If you've seen my videos before, thank you for being a loyal subscriber. If you have watched my videos before, then you know that I have spent the past 10 years working as a speech, communication, and confidence coach, which means I help people overcome their fear of public speaking, as well as learn to be more polished as speakers in general, along with voice work, accent work, and other things of that nature. But my real passion lies in helping people build their confidence, whether that's with speaking or showing up in life in general. But today I wanted to take some time to talk about why public speaking is humanity's number one fear and a simple way but powerful way to overcome that anxiety if it's something you experience. You may have heard the very famous Jerry Seinfeld quote where he said that if humanity's number one fear is public speaking, then that means at a funeral, most people would prefer to be in the casket than be the one giving the eulogy. And that is so true for so many people because it's a debilitating fear. If you saw my last video, then you heard the Warren Buffett quote where he said that the best investment he can recommend for anyone to build their career skills is to invest in communication and public speaking. So why is this thing that is so important to us so terrifying and anxiety-inducing for most people? That's what we're going to talk about today, as well as how to overcome that. Now, first, I do want to say that public speaking does not necessarily mean standing on a stage speaking in front of a crowd of 100 people. It certainly can and does include that, but public speaking is a form of social anxiety. So something like speaking at a networking event or a party, raising your hand in a meeting, or even having a one-on-one conversation, those are all still considered forms of public speaking. And when you get better at any one of those, you likely will get better at the others, especially if you learn to get good at the most intimidating of those for you, then the rest will feel easy by comparison. Now, for most people, speaking on a stage in front of 10,000 people would be very intimidating and very anxiety-inducing. However, I have met people who say they feel more comfortable in front of a large crowd than they do in small groups. So that's why I say whichever is the most intimidating for you is the one I recommend you tackle and get comfortable with, because then every other setting will feel easy by comparison. I learned to get good at public speaking in front of a group so that then, as a fun byproduct, my social interactions became so much better. I became so much more easy to talk to at parties because my confidence was just greater overall, because if I can deliver a speech to 300 people, then talking in a group, it's not so bad, you know? Now, part of why I'm so passionate about this and feel like it's such an important thing for everyone to learn and to not be afraid of is because it infiltrates everything that we do. I've heard so many people say that they turned down opportunities because it involved some speaking and they were too intimidated to do that, but they really wanted the job or they really wanted the opportunity, but they just couldn't take it because of that. Or people who say they have art that they want to share, stories they want to tell, but they're too afraid to go to open mic and share them. Or people who say, I knew that material inside and out, backwards and forwards, but when I got up there, I just froze and I lost it all. And then you feel bad about yourself. Or people who stay home instead of going to parties when they really want to socialize, because we are social creatures by nature. Even the most introverted among us benefits from some social interaction, but we hold ourselves back because of that fear. And so, why is it that it's so scary to speak, and especially public speak, if this is something that is in many ways very good for us? When we think about public speaking in the traditional sense, so standing on a stage in front of an audience, There is nothing natural about that. Okay, so think about how we are wired as human beings. There were no podiums back in caveman days. I don't think they held town halls to discuss things where one person was put on the spot and everyone else watched them, because from a biological perspective, that is a very vulnerable position to be in. So if I'm standing here and the rest of the group is in front of me, I am now in a physically vulnerable position. The rest of the group could attack me and I will die. And I'm in a psychologically vulnerable position, psychosocially rather, because if the group judges me and decides that I no longer belong to the tribe, they're going to go off and hunt and gather together, and I'm going to have to hunt and gather by myself, and I'll probably starve. When we think about this from a prehistoric context, we are wired to be social creatures, and if we're kicked out of the pack, that likely means death. And so our bodies still, even though thousands of years have passed, our bodies at a biological, physiological level often still equate being put on the spot with death. The fear of dying, the fear of not surviving. And that's why for many people, even something as simple as being put on the spot can trigger our fight or flight stress response. And this can happen even if you're on a Zoom call where physically you know you're safe. You might not even be in the same state as the people you're talking to. But from an evolutionary perspective and the socializing perspective, it's, well, if they judge me, I could still be kicked out of the group. And so what I recommend you do first is acknowledge that this is normal and this is actually your body's way of keeping you safe. The fact that you have some anxiety, that you're getting these jitters, that means your body is doing its job to keep you protected. So for so many of my clients and for myself personally, just learning that was so liberating, because then I could stop faulting myself. I could stop calling myself stupid for being nervous. It's not stupid. It is literally life-saving, at least to your biology. Your subconscious thinks that it's trying to save your life by having you on high alert and having that adrenaline pumping. Now you, as a conscious, aware adult in 2026, know that it is not a life-threatening situation and you don't need to be that nervous, but instead of shaming yourself for it, reframe it. Thank your body. Thank you, body. I've got this. Thank you for the jitters. Thank you for keeping me alert. I got it from here. I know it sounds silly, but just talking to your body can help reduce some of the physiological sensations you're experiencing. The other thing you want to do is to train your body and your subconscious that it is safe. And you do that by getting in as many reps as you possibly can, doing the thing and surviving. Because if you do it over and over, eventually your body will realize, oh, like that wasn't so bad. I survived. Now, some people tell me they've spoken up in the meeting or given presentations 172 times and they still get just as nervous every time. So if that's happening, if you're noticing that with repeated exposure, you're still not feeling any better, then what's really important to do is after the experience where you physically survive, it doesn't matter if it was awkward, it doesn't matter if you felt uncomfortable, it doesn't matter if you didn't get the result you wanted, if you physically survived, put your hand on your heart and just enjoy the moment. Thank your body for getting you through it. And remind yourself, hey, we survived. When I first started coaching, I was all about the moment before the experience, but from a lot of conversations with people and my own personal experience, overcoming my own debilitating fear of public speaking, I realized that the moment after is so important. And it's so easy and so tempting that as soon as the experience is over, glad that's over, let me move on and think about literally anything else. And that's what I used to do, or I would go on my phone, or I would just distract myself. I would go to the bakery and eat a bunch of sugar because sugar seemed to calm me down. But when you start taking time to acknowledge, like, hey, we did it, good job, just that little reminder to your body that says, hey, we survived. That's how you can help it stick in your subconscious, so that next time, instead of being so afraid, you'll look forward to the reward that you may experience after, of that feeling of calm. But really, it's going to realize at a subconscious level, your subconscious will start to realize that it's not life-threatening. You will be okay. Now, you can do these and a million other tips and suggestions, but you might still feel jitters and you might still feel nervous. I do open mics several times a month, sometimes multiple times a week. I've spoken to large crowds, I've given a TEDx talk, and I still get nervous because I'm naturally kind of an anxious person. I don't get nervous every time, which is super cool. I have had open mics where I felt zero jitters and I just walked on and I just did my thing and I was like, oh, that was awesome. But that's rare, and that usually only happens when it's a very small crowd and it's people I'm comfortable with. But when the jitters happen, now you know, one, not to shame yourself for it, thank your body for it, but two, one of the best things you can do is focus on what you can control, not what you can't. So for me, when I am physiologically stressed, even if I don't feel nervous, I sweat a lot. Like, I have this sweat response. This happened to me just yesterday. I was being interviewed on a podcast. I was not nervous at all. It was a Zoom podcast. I'm pretty sure it is a fairly small audience. It was audio only. I felt very comfortable with the woman. But about halfway through recording, I realized I was sweating. And it's not the kind of sweating that my body does when it's hot. It wasn't hot. It's quite cold. It's the kind of sweating that I know my body does when it's on the spot. I felt zero jitters, but my body still had some of that stress response because there was some element of being in front of an audience, even in that very low stakes, safe conversation. And another time this happened, and I'll share how to use this for yourself. Another time I was giving a seminar and I was sweating so badly and I could feel the sweat rolling down my back, and I got so paranoid because the dress I was wearing had a fabric that I knew my sweat would show. And so I was like standing like this. I was trying to keep my dress from touching my body, and I was so in my head about, are they gonna see, that it was distracting me from saying what I needed to say. And then at some point during that presentation, it was like a 3-hour presentation, I'm pretty sure. At some point, I just had to let it go. And internally, I was like, you know what? If they see me sweat, it's fine. I'm a human. It's okay. Might be a little embarrassing, but it's fine. And I had to get it out of my head and keep focusing on what I could control, which was my breathing. I could control my smile. I could control how engaging the material is so that people are less likely to look at my armpits and see if I'm sweating. You know what I mean? So you want to focus not on the things you can't control, because you cannot control if you start sweating. You cannot control if your face turns red. But you can control how quickly you speak. So many people speak very, very quickly when they're nervous. I'm one of those. But you can control that. You cannot control your heart rate, but you can control your rate of speech. Okay? And so the more you focus on what you can control, slowing down, taking a breath, smiling, standing up straight, whatever it is that's going to make you feel poised and confident and in control of the situation, focus on that. Focus on your content, focus on your audience, and then all of those things you can't control will just be in the background. They're not going to distract you and keep you from performing. My voice shakes a lot at open mics when I'm doing poetry, but if I think about, oh my gosh, my voice is shaky, then I forget my next line, and that's no good. So you just have to ignore it when you're on the spot. And that takes practice, but it is so doable. It's so doable. And if you want practice with that, I'm getting ready to start some online virtual group classes. So please send me an email, hello@powerfulandpoised.com, if that's something you would be interested in, because I want to gauge interest before I put together this offering. But I'll be putting it together regardless, but please let me know, or you can leave a comment on this video if you'd be interested in that, and subscribe to my newsletter so that you'll be updated when I have that all ready to go. But group classes are a perfect way to practice speaking in front of an audience, plus it'll be coupled with instruction where I'll be teaching you how to do these things and you'll get practice in real time. So that's an aside. But the last thing I want to share is one of the most powerful ways to override that feeling of anxiety is to work with it and say, I got some jitters. Thank you, body. Thank you for keeping me safe. And did you know that nervousness and excitement are processed in the body the exact same way? When you're excited or nervous, your heart rate gets faster, your breathing gets shallower, your palms might get sweaty, you might start to sweat, your face might turn red. Those physiological responses may happen regardless, but it's the story we tell ourselves about it that makes all the difference. So if you tell yourself, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous, then you're gonna have that as a negative experience. But if you tell yourself, I am so excited. I am so excited for this opportunity to speak in front of this crowd. This is awesome. Yay. What a cool, fun opportunity. And you focus on all the things you can control and not the things you can't. Recipe for success. We can't make the jitters go away entirely, but you can perform in spite of them. So I hope all of those tips and thoughts were helpful, and I hope that just knowing that it's not your fault if you get nervous is liberating and empowering. And if you want to go deeper, I did put together an online course with basically all the information that I've taught over the past 10 years condensed into a self-paced course that is available on Udemy. Udemy is a platform for various types of courses. It's very easy to use, and it's available for less than the cost of lunch these days. It's $27.99 with a full 30-day money-back guarantee if you don't love it. I also include some spoken word poetry to get you excited and inspired, and downloadable worksheets to keep you on track. So you can find the link for that in the video description. Subscribe to my newsletter as I mentioned, and of course I'm always available for private coaching or corporate training if that is something of interest to you or your team. Thank you so much for watching. Please share this video with anyone who feels debilitated by their fear of public speaking or who just has the jitters and holds themselves back because of it.